everyone. Welcome to my channel and welcome back. If you're one of my subscribers, loyal subscribers and friends, and also new subscribers, um, thanks for being here. And in Kansas, I thought I would do a live as there's a lot going on. Obviously, in LA and other places, ramping up, which we kind of knew, right? It wasn't just going to be June 14th. And obviously, if you are a supporter of 45, you know who I'm talking about. I don't disrespect the office of president. I've never been that kind of person, but this is different. As a human being, it's different. And so if it offends you, I'm sorry. But these are my opinions and psychic opinions for entertainment purposes only, as they say. But yeah, I feel we are all called to speak our truth. And so this is my truth. I knew from the minute that 40 began to run for president, I knew that he had a connection to the guy with the mustache in Germany that killed a lot of Jewish people. I knew that instantly. And I knew that he was going to try to target the gay community and anyone who had ethnicity and women. And so far, that's all come true. It's been a hard road trying to wake people up. It's still, but if you're here and you like 45, this probably isn't the channel for you. Again, as I've said many times, I don't wish him harm. I don't hate the guy. I don't hate anyone. But I hate, it's like that old, Bible scripture of hate the sin, not the sinner. Because we're all, we all make mistakes. So I could never hate anyone. Anyway, moving on. Being in LA. So I just wanted you to know that's where I stand. I am clearly not a supporter of 45, never have been. This has been hard for me, having tried to warn everyone for years, for over a decade, but here now, and that's what we're dealing with. I want to talk about different things. One, the information coming out about how the voting machines and again, for entertainment purposes only, everything I say, were tampered with before the event. November, what was it? Can't remember. It was November 5th on, the election. I'll just say election. And I knew that. And I'll tell you real quick for those who haven't been here before. On the night of the election, I mean, we all said, Kamala's going to win. She did win. She did. That's what made me so upset after, she quote unquote lost, was that she technically won. She did win. She got all but what we all should have been asking was, who's going to be in the White House? Who's going to take over the role as president? If we had asked that, we probably all would have gotten the 45 get in. And to be honest, every time I said, yeah, he's going to win, I remember like air quotes in my head, if he doesn't steal it from her. And we all knew that there was a high potentiality that he would steal it from her. And he did. So, on that night, okay, my dog gets attacked. Really weird, heavy energy. And I remember thinking, what is this horrible energy? And that energy went on for the next few days until the election. All that day, weird, dark clouds, dark energy. And oh yeah, my dog almost got attacked again, like the day after. So it was like 2 days in a row. And I was like, what is this in the universe on election day? And election day. And it was like everything I did to pray, everything I did to send out positivity and protection in the universe, I was being blocked. I remember going to bed very frustrated. Well, before the election, during, and then the results of the night, very frustrated, going to bed very frustrated. But, well, here's the thing. Those results that came in on election night it was bam, bam, bam. 2 hours in, right? 2 or 3 hours, they all announce it. I've always said, did the CEOs of all the major networks make an agreement beforehand to announce early, to lock it in? Because look, even Biden, he won. but it wasn't even called until that next weekend. They didn't even finish counting for governors and House members and Senate for like some of them for months. So how the thing about them calling 45 winner in like 2 hours on election night, that blew my mind. And I remember I was, no, there's no way. Now, does that sound like denial? Yes, but it is weird. It's weird. Here's the other thing. As a psychic, I went to bed, obviously very depressed, hoping that I would win. More votes would come in that I knew were there, that I knew were supposed to be counted for Kamala, and that they would announce, oh, she actually won. But all my prayers, all my protections were not being. And then you have all the 4 a.m. women. Well, I always wake up at 3 a.m., but all these women woke up at 4 a.m. across the country because the feminine had been attacked. Kamala was stolen from us. They stole Kamala from us. And that's a very painful thing. We saw this beautiful, bright future of hope, nurturing, of people caring for each other, being able to care for your parent, being able to live in a home, not having medical bills everywhere, ruining your credit, and hope, caring for each other, caring for the earth. It was like a chance to heal everything with Kamala, and that was ripped away from us. So that's why women woke up at 4 a.m. Plus the fact that a lot of women are very intuitive. In fact, the moon is the Luna, the feminine. And that's very intuitive. The moon is, tied to intuition. Anyway, the next few days, I get intuitively AI. I hear very clearly from Spirit. AI used AI. How did he use AI? I ask. And I had that dream, and it was this guy that comes in with the machine gun, and he yells, "Everybody, this is it. Get ready. I'm gonna do it." And then so he's gonna rob everybody, and this guy turns to me and he says, "It's the Grok." And I was like, "The Grok? What the hell is the Grok?" Well, I find out that it's Elon has an AI app called Grok. And that aligns with when Spirit told me AI to steal the election. Then I see the Poly Market thing. I see the Poly Market had, before the election, a predicted map that showed all the states, how it would run, how each state would call the election. And the results were like exactly mapped out. Now, what's weird about that is Alan Lichtman, professional, long-time political predictor of elections, said Kamala would win and showed the maps. And so people who knew numbers and polling early, etc., how economists, how newspapers called for certain candidates, Alan Lichtman got it wrong. All the psychics got it wrong. And not only that, but there was this whiz kid on TikTok who did a video, couple of videos before he did one a couple months before the election, and then like a week before the election, and he showed exactly how Kamala had all the delegates and all the early voting, polling, early votes, projections, and she was a projected winner each time, and even like read a computer program. And he was like this boy genius, and he was wrong. You can't tell me everybody was wrong. I don't believe it. Plus with me. And so the whole thing was just, here's what I've always gotten. Elon used AI. He used Grok. He used Poly Market. The election results were perfectly mapped out. He knew before the election. He even told 45, don't worry, you're going to win. And vote counting computers are tabulators. So here's what else Spirit told me. They said on election night from 6 p.m., there was a cheat code put into the voting machines that on election night from 6 to 8 p.m., the tabulators would open and all those votes for Kamala would run out. If it said Trump, if it said Kamala, it was gone. Again, for entertainment purposes, cheat code. Tabulators open from 6 to 8 p.m. And so 45 said himself, oh, Elon knows those computers, those vote counting computers. Thanks, Elon. That was like, oh yeah, well, that's what Spirit told me. Now, the other thing, all night, Spirit kept showing me, like, look at this, look at that. And I looked, and it showed that Elon last summer merged his company and bought chips. What chips were in the voting machines? Dell. Uh, then you go to the burned ballot boxes and fake lottery wasn't supposed to, that was illegal, where he culled people's information, Democratic registration. He had a fake website. One lady says that when they accessed the Ancestry DNA and people's social numbers before the election, that they used that to send out fake ballots. And they're in Pennsylvania, which was the state to lose, the state to win. In Pennsylvania, they had that huge thing where they found ballots. And they said, oh, well, what we'll do is now you'll have to come in and vote on election day, but that's okay. And so those people came in, had to vote, that now they couldn't vote because somebody had stolen their information, Elon. And so now they had to come in and vote in person, even though they were going to do it by mail. Look what happened in Pennsylvania. They sent bomb threats that closed the voting locations. And then people like Bannon went to court and said, you can't open up the voting locations again. And that went on all night. And people were not allowed to vote. And I said that. I said that was going to happen. So that's how they did it. That's exactly how they did it. Now, saying now that yes, the voting machines were tampered with before the election. We all knew, didn't we? We all knew that Kamala won. And the people who gaslit us and said, she didn't win, you guys are losers. No, she won. And we all know it. It's not just a conspiracy. Some things are conspiracy theories. This is not a conspiracy theory. And honestly, do you really think a guy, a convicted felon, who wouldn't even return top secret documents, okay? You really think a convicted felon is going to do an election legally? You really think that? And he has a guy, his best friend, knows how to hack computers and indeed all our government systems. You really think they're going to play fair and not cheat? And the gaslighting was extreme. We all know Kamala won. Now, Sterling said on Sunday, and this is something I picked up too. It's really sad, okay? I picked this up a while back. I said, I feel the energy leaving where Kamala is going to come back, and that makes me sad. I hated to announce that to people. Now, things can change, and I hope it does. I hope she does come back. But Sterling said it on Sunday. He said, it doesn't feel like she's going to come back. And, it's sad, but that's what I'm doing. But I still feel like Tim Walz could come back. And I've always felt like, as much as I love Kamala, and I really, really loved her, and I really loved Biden, as much of her, I love Tim Walz too, and I would be very happy if they brought Tim Walz in to be president. And I think they should. Right now, look, another summer of our lives. I keep seeing people, that means they don't like what I'm saying, but that's okay. Catch you on the replay. And for those who watch this replay, thank you for being here. Thank you. No, but now I've lost it, so that's fine. I'll leave it alone. But we all know Kamala won. So yes, these reports are coming out saying the voting machines were tampered with. They're doing like that one thing they showed in, Rockland, New York, where 45 had all these votes and Kamala had none. Really none? Now here's something I remembered. I remember on election day morning, like really early in the morning, they showed the first votes, and it was like some upper corner of New York, right? Some little town, like 6 people, so 6 votes. And it was split, 3 for Kamala, 3 for Trump, 45. And I was like, oh boy, if that's him, then I thought I would see, but it's split, so you never know. So no, it's none for Kamala. That's not the only place that they would find that. Now, the real question is, why didn't they do recounts? Why delegate? It's almost like we were under a spell this whole time, and I really almost wonder that, because I always felt like we got switched into the upside down, the anti-universe, and we were really in a fog this whole time. So, I don't know. I honestly felt like some of the Democrats that we thought were good Democrats have kind of per votes with the Republicans here, these bad bills, you just go, wow, that's a Democrat doing that. Now it kind of makes sense why they didn't help Kamala. I mean, I feel like she was betrayed on so many levels. It's not even right. I really feel bad for us because again, she was stolen from us. Um, so let's go into modern day now. So now that we have this information, I believe we're going to have investigation into Pennsylvania, which the state to win or lose. And 45 knew that. There was this guy before the election, and he said, in Erie County, Pennsylvania, every person who's won this county has won the state and won the presidency. And he showed 45 and 2016, Obama each time, Bush. Each time that candidate won county, Pennsylvania, they won the state and they won the country. That's why 45 and Elon attacked Pennsylvania so hard, because it was the state to lose or win, and they knew that. Bomb threats, burn ballots, closed voting locations, you name it. Pennsylvania was attacked. I'm glad it's almost like New York. It's good that they're doing that because it's sort of like this offside little place that nobody even thought about. And move on to but why didn't we? Why didn't we? Why didn't we do this way back when? I guess we had some lessons to learn. Anyway, moving on. So now here we are, another summer of violence, another summer of violence. It's never going to change. It's always going to be the same. As I said the other day, 45 is Mentos and America is Diet Coke. I know people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. And so, of course, we're going to have another summer of violence. Of course, we thought that maybe this weekend it would get violent. Military parade, which, to be honest, that parade wasn't, it was like an event that was planned 2 years ago, and he just hijacked it for his birthday and blah, blah, blah. There's going to be protests. There's going to be protests. You know, you have to stay peaceful. That's what I want to say. And obviously, stay peaceful, because don't give them any grounds to accuse us and Democrats, liberals, people who have a good open heart, right? You don't have to be a Democrat, but people have a good open heart. Don't give them a reason to fight you and to call you the agitator. So I said this the other day, and I've heard other people say it too, but this happened in 2020 as well. Whenever there were peaceful protests, they would send Blackwater ops to agitate, break windows, start fires, and it was always the Blackwater ops. There was always agitators sent in to peaceful protests. We even saw the video where the cops were breaking the windows of their own police to make it look like rioters had done it. So these are people fans of 45, okay? They'll do anything for the guy. Talking of psycho fans, the other day, 45 trips on the stairs up into Air Force One. And look, we've all tripped, okay? That's a human thing. But he did it, and the thing about him doing it is that he's made fun of Biden for tripping. Someone just came in, they left. They probably heard me talk about Biden, and they're out of here. That cracks me up. So anyway, so of course he gets on Air Force One. It's like, gosh damn it, they're going to tell me and say I'm senile. And so Marco Rubio goes up the stairs after him. And what does he do? He pretends to trip too. He throws his body forward and he pretends to trip to make Trump look good. That is called being a sycophant, bootlicker. I'm sorry, but it's true. And these are the people we're dealing with all across America. We have people in a cult, we have bootlickers, people who are obsessed with money, so they'll do anything for money and sell their soul for money, you know. And if you took away all the money in the world and all we had left was just each other naked in our truth, who would be in power right now? Who would be a king? Who are the real kings? You know, strip it all away. Strip away all the money, the suit, the fake tan, the hair, the makeup, the plastic surgery, what have you. Take it all away. Who's the real king? Who has real power? The power's on the inside. And I don't think, when somebody says to you, do this for me, be violent for me, is that power? You have just given your power away. So I say, if you go to a protest, peace or gathering, keep it peaceful. Like somebody said, what if everybody went to on June 14th to their protest and just sat there and sang kumbaya, what that's like really old fashioned, but and made no indication, no motion, nothing, just sat there like a sit-in. They used to do sit-ins, right? And there's no reason the powers that be to accuse and to shoot tear gas, etc. Or what if nobody showed up? Now the problem with not showing up is that makes 45 think that he won, you know. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. The reason all of this started, it wasn't because, we're bad people who hate America. No, we love America. We love America. Here's what all of this started from. Because guys in masks, tactical gear, were kidnapping people. How do we know who these guys really are? How do we know they're not just raping these women, these young, selling off the babies that they're ripping from their arms? It's just so horrible and so wrong. Nobody can sit and say it's okay. Nobody, not a soul on this earth can say this. And other countries are actually disgusted with them because this is happening. They're disgusted with America. This happened. They're saying, how can you allow this to happen? Believe me when I say, we're all horrified and we're all thinking at night, how do we stop this? How do we help these people? How do we stop kidnappers with guns and masks on? Okay, so that's why these protests started. We couldn't allow masked men, unidentified men with guns to kidnap women and do God knows what. You have to stand up for something or you stand for nothing. That's where these protests came from. I hate the government and I hate 45 and blah, blah, blah. It was, we have to do something because we can't allow men in masks with guns to kidnap women and what? Rape them? Sell them? Allow that. And I know 45 wants to blame it on the liberals, but honestly, it's a human thing. This has nothing to do with liberals. This is a human thing. If you feel that it's okay for Randall to kidnap women and little girls off the streets, I don't know what to tell you. That's where this is all coming from. So anyway, but keep it peaceful because we can't play their game. We can't, I don't know if you saw the video of the guy and he was a cool guy. He had glasses, like sunglasses and his hat, and some reporter, I think it was like CNN or MSNBC, and they're like, she said, what happened out there? And he said something like, it tastes like tear gas. It tastes like fascism. And he just had this smile on his face. He's like, yeah, these people, these protesters are a special breed. And they're really, you have to have social justice warriors. You have to. People who are willing to die to save humanity. Hats off to people like that. Those are like, that's kick ass, to be honest. Pardon my throat. I have allergies really bad. I was kind of sick the other day, but here we are. Let me have a sip of tea. So how do I think his birthday parade? Well, I think there's going to be a lot of protests, and I feel right now it's a litmus test, is what I just heard, for that. And he's trying to see if he can get by with martial law. So far, it doesn't look like he can. Now, here's the thing. Let's say he just calls martial law. Every city has tanks everywhere. Men with guns. I mean, what? We all die? Is that what's gonna happen? We're just all gonna die. It's gonna bomb us all. We're all just gonna get put in cars and okay, whatever. I know that I'm one of those people. I'm like, whatever. I don't care. I really, you want to kill me? Kill me. I don't care. I had on inauguration day, clearly someone who watches my channel came and banged on my door. So I've already, it's good times just because you try to speak for humanity. I think that what's going to happen is 45 going to find out that he can't get by with all of this force. He can't. he's like a parent who misuses their power, like a parent who smacks their kid around and doesn't think, hey, their kid might smack back. One day their kid might just say, Dad, Mom, see you later. I'm done with you. You you smacked me around my whole life, and I'm never going to talk to you again. I don't want to be around you again. You can make 40% of the people think that you're God, but the 60% will think that you're a fool. And that's what's happening. So he can have his parade, he can bring all the force he wants, waste all the money. But I honestly feel like it's 30% of the military and armed forces, National Guard, etc., are in the to do what he says. And yeah, like 70%, there's still some undecided. Like, what do we do? What do we do? If the president calls me, what do I do? You have to say no. You have a right to not answer that call. And the oath is to the Constitution, which says that you can't attack citizens. That's the whole reason you're in the army, the military, to protect citizens from being attacked. Now, 45 is saying that he wants to call in martial law like the Civil War. Now, why did we have a Civil War? Because he was trying to free slaves. And of course, the South felt like it was an overreach of their freedom to own slaves. And it would dismantle their life, their business, everything. And of course, a lot of the slaves at the time would be displaced and they would have freedom, but they wouldn't have a place and food to eat. So they were also, in my opinion, this is fully, correct me if I'm wrong and where I'm wrong. But they were scared too. So there's a lot of undecided. The moral thing was, Lincoln knew that the moral thing was, you can't own another human being. And I'm going to get into that in a second here because I have some past life stuff about 45 cents to you. Why he's doing all of this. And not just connection Hitler, but I have a big thing about 45 about his past life. So if you're here and you want to hear it, I'll get into it. So let's do that. Why is 45? Like, I just read this thing that said that he wants to rename like military bases with Robert E. Lee, which let's look that up. Let me read that. Trump wants to rename, and they said Robert E. Lee. Let's do this. Trump orders names restored to military bases honoring Robert E. Lee and other Confederate leaders, as if we never lost. And I thought, why does he not understand that we lost the Civil War? We lost the Civil War. We lost. I mean, do you go back? Are we going to go back to Germany and say, okay, time to be Hitler again? Time to, No, you lose. You lose a war. You lose. You don't get to flip a Monopoly board and cheat and say that you're the winner. No, you don't get to do that. Why is he obsessed with Robert E. Lee? Well, I'll tell you why. Okay, so way back when, I asked Spirit, I said, and I already had my opinions, obviously, but I asked Spirit about 45. What do you think about him? Tell me the truth. I want to know what Spirit thinks about him. And I got a quote from Frederick Douglass. And mind you, that I'd had George Washington. He had me channel him. I'll try to look up that video. I had Abraham Lincoln. And when I say they contacted me, they appeared in my third eye days on end until I gave in and channeled them. I had Harriet Tubman. Hold on, it's hot. I need to get this fan over here. It is hot. Okay. So, Frederick Douglass, he showed me this quote in Spirit, and it said that 45 was a usurper, criminal president, and it said, end of story. End of story. A criminal president. Now that was like mid 2020 when I got that message. So then Frederick Douglass told me that 45 was a character in his memoir when he was a slave. He was a slave. And he said that 45 was a man called Mr. Gore. So I looked that up. Mr. Gore. Now, who is Mr. Gore, you say? Well, I'll tell you. He was a slave owner. Okay. Gore, an ambitious overseer who was exceptionally cruel. Douglas remembers an episode when Gore whipped a slave named Demby so badly that Demby ran into a deep flowing creek to soothe his shoulders. Gore warned, this is 45, warned, shoot if Demby didn't come out of the creek. Gore counted to 3, and Demby still failed to emerge from the creek. Without further warning, Gore cocked his and killed Demby. Gore later explained to Lloyd that the served as an example to other slaves, disobey and die. Now, who does that sound like? That's 45. Disobey. That's 45. He is reliving his life as a slave owner. So, of course, he wants to rename everything to Robert E. Lee. Of course, he's doing all this. Of course, it all makes sense. 45 was Mr. Gore. Douglas elaborates that killing a slave is not considered a crime by the courts nor by the community in Maryland. He provides 2 more examples of owners who murdered their slaves but escaped punishment from this and censure from the community. See, this is where 45 comes from. This is his past life. He was supposed to spend this life, 45 was supposed to spend this life changing and becoming a better person and healing from that lifetime, but no, he did not. He's just repeating that life, and so he's going to have to come back again because he's nothing, and nobody around him has held him accountable and made him learn how to be a better human being. And part of that is he was supposed to go to jail where he could lick his wounds and think all day about the things that he did wrong and how to be a better human being. But no, people stopped it from happening because they're greedy, because they want to cut up the pie. Anyway. Okay, so more about Mr. Gore. Mr. Gore was proud. Here we go. This is really where I was like, yeah, that's Trump. Mr. Gore was proud and persevering. He was artful, art of the deal, cruel and obdurate. He was just the man for such a place, and it was just the place for such a man, being a slave owner. It afforded scope for the full exercise of all his powers, and he seemed to be perfectly at home in it. He was one of those who would torture this look, word, or gesture on the part of the slave into impudence and would treat it accordingly. There must be no answering back to him. No explanation was allowed a slave. Showing himself to have been wrongfully accused, Mr. Gore acted fully up to the maxim laid down by slaveholders. It is better that a slave should suffer under the lash than that the overseer should be convicted. So he would rather just live. He would rather that the slave suffer than he suffer. He was not going to go to jail. See how he avoided going to jail? It is better that a dozen slaves should suffer lash than that the overseer should be convicted. That's Trump. In the presence of the slaves of having been at fault, no matter how innocent a slave might be, it availed him nothing when accused by Mr. Gore, Trump, any misdemeanor. To be accused was to be convicted, and to be convicted was to be punished. Those following the other with immutable certainty. To escape punishment was to escape accusation. Well, that's what Trump did. And few slaves had the fortune to do either under the overseership of Mr. Gore, Trump. He was just proud enough to demand placing homage of the slave, and quite servile enough to crouch himself at the feet of the master. That's Putin. He crouches at Putin's feet. He was ambitious enough to be contented with nothing short of the highest rank of overseers, and varying enough to reach the height of his ambition. He was cruel enough to inflict the severest punishment, artful enough to descend to the lowest trickery, and obdurate enough to be insensible to the voice of a reproving conscience. He was, of all the overseers, says Frederick Douglass, most dreaded by the slaves. His presence was painful. His eye flashed confusion, and seldom was his sharp, shrill voice heard without producing horror and trembling in their ranks. My friends, that's Trump. That's his past life. He is Mr. Gore, from Frederick Douglass's own words. Trump was Mr. Gore. Trump was also Hitler, he was also Henry VIII, and I got that a few years ago, that Trump was Henry VIII. I'll tell you something, he's going downhill like Henry VIII. Now, what happened to Henry VIII? He was a handsome young man, obviously in the royal court, and he was a Tudor, and he married and divorced, and he accused the Catholic Church. When the Catholic Church wouldn't do what he wanted, he tried to change their rules, funding, and all of those things so he could get a divorce. And when that didn't work, he just beheaded people with false accusation. And he died of severe illness and madness and syphilis. And he had a lancing accident in his leg that began to decay and caused madness, and Henry VIII mad and died. Now let's go to that, because 45 recently, the trip on the stairs and his slow leg that we've seen. Now, I said the other day he disappeared for a few days, and I was like, he had another stroke. He had a mini stroke. I was just sure of it. He had a mini stroke. And then now you're seeing him with a catheter tube they showed, and he has catheter bags on both. Some people are saying he has leg braces. I don't think so. I think he has a catheter for the, fecal and for urine, and they're on his leg. The tube through his pants, which I didn't want to see that close, but it's a catheter. So I honestly feel, and he's covering his hand. His eyes are weird. He's got like one bulging eye. I really think, I've always felt that 45 had always. And I feel like he is slowly, as I've said, fading. And I don't see him beyond 2 years. I don't. That's why people who follow 45, you need to let go of him, because he's not going to be around more than 2 years. And that could be that maybe he's just so faded that he's in homeless. I mean, doesn't mean that he's going to be dead, but he may still be in the White House. Who knows? But his mental acuity is, honestly, I see him fading. Now, like Henry VIII, he's got this mad, and maybe it's dementia. I think it's the drugs too. I honestly have felt last summer, I was told by Spirit that he started to use performance drugs, and that's why he crashed, because he gets really pumped up and then he crashes, like all people who use drugs crash. And it's true. And I also feel helpless. I feel and dementia, but it's that I feel that he's using ketamine, because that started when he started to hang out with Elon last summer. Well, this is a long video. So I feel like the birthday is going to be a mess, but we're already in a mess now. We're already there. It's, instead of it just being DC, it's all over the place now, in LA especially. And so, okay, some people are saying, well, maybe this is all because all this news about the voting machines and how Kamala really won. Kamala won. She won. Kamala won. And yes, they did with the voting machines. Absolutely. But do I think that all this, the riots and everything, and calling in the national, no, I don't think that's to hide that. I think this is planned. I think this is how 45 does his summers. He likes violence every summer. Okay, listen to this. So one time this lady, I was leaving work, and this lady said, oh, I love it. Then she turned to me and she said, but I live in the city, and the summertime is when there's the most violence. And I remember I was like, oh, that's not good. But that's because everybody's out. He has that thing where he just loves, I don't know what it is. He sees people being out and being free and happy. And what does he do? The first thing he thinks is violence, because he can't control people. And he sees us as targets. Here's another thing before I leave. So prediction, prediction. Everything's going to be okay. And if it's not, it's not. How do you like that prediction? No, I think everything's going to be okay. We're already in the violence. We're already in the military. It's already begun. This was Project 2025 already. So no, I don't think it's a distraction. I think it was already part of the plan that June was going to be the start of his military takeover, which, as the knitting cult lady has explained, you can't take over America. You can't. You can take over parts of some areas, but you can't take over. We have oceans, we have mountains, we have caves, fields, it's a massive place. We're bordered by oceans. People could just jump in the ocean and swim off. You can't take over America. There's no way. Plus, people are armed. Everyone has a gun. So, um, there's not going to be a takeover of America. That's just not going to happen. And we're already in the chaos. So, asking how Sunday's or is it Sunday or Saturday, whatever the day of the parade is, how's it going to go? It's already going how it's going to go. Like this. I actually think it's going to be a good thing because I think that he's going to see people like Gavin Newsom and 70% of Americans can't stand him and are not going to abide by him because he, a dictator who is asking people to ignore the Constitution, and that's just not going to happen. That's not so. We're seeing how it's going to be. I actually think what we're going to see Americans standing up for each other, not for him. And that's actually going to be a turning point. That's what I feel. I feel it's going to be a turning point. So, and I don't know if my comments are on. I don't know. But what else did I want to say? I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions, let me know before I head off. I'm not sure if the comments are on though, and I'm sorry about that. I try. See, what YouTube does is they really do shadow ban me. I've been shadow banned for years. I've been here since 2004, and I've been like the unknown person on the internet that whole time. So what they do is YouTube sets me to private, and I don't even know it. And then comments are turned off, and then I have no visibility for like a week after that. So that's probably what's happening. But I think that if you have questions, leave them in the box, or leave them on my community board, and I will answer them. I'll try to do a personal show sometime. I can do past lives. I can do mediumship and all that good stuff. So thanks for being here. I'm very shy. On show the other day, I was like, oh my God, look at me, I'm hideous. I can't watch myself on camera. I'm ugly. I know that I am a freak. I'm a freak. And so yeah, I don't really like being on camera. So for being here, you guys, I'll leave it here, and much love and blessings to you.